Hello and welcome to the Hope Recovery Podcast. I'm your host, Greg Schmalhofer, and this is episode number 46. So thank you so much for joining me today on the Hope Recovery Podcast. So the devotional message for today is on step 10 of recovery. Step 10 from Narcotics Anonymous is given as we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 10 begins to take us in a different direction from the previous several steps. Step 10 suggests a continued or even daily process of recovery. In their introduction to Step 10, AA indicates quite clearly that this is not a once-and-done process, but a daily process, and one that lasts for our lifetime. So on page 84, AA says this: this thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. And that's a quote from Alcoholics Anonymous. And NA, in their introduction to Step 10, speaks about Step 10 in a broad perspective, and indicates just how important Step 10 can be as a brand new way of living. When it states on page 42, it says this: we need to remember that everyone makes mistakes. We will never be perfect. However, we can accept ourselves by using Step 10. By continuing a personal inventory, we are set free in the here and now from ourselves and the past. We no longer justify our existence. This step allows us to be ourselves. This quote indicates that we acknowledge we will make mistakes and that we will never be perfect, and that is all okay. But with Step 10, we take a personal inventory to address any concerns now, right away, before they become a problem for us or for others. And really, this is a relief. In a way, it removes the pressure of life. And as NA says, Step 10 does help to set us free in the here and now. So, Step 10 from NA reads, we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. In my view, there are 4 key principles for Step 10 of recovery. The first key principle of Step 10 is we continued, as in it is a daily process, not once and done. Step 10 is to be done each and every day. It is not something that is done once and then we're all done forever. Rather, we continued indicates it is an ongoing process. By continuing to do Step 10 each and every day, it helps us. It helps us to build new routines, new habits that are positive for us and positive for our recovery and even positive for those around us. NA speaks to this daily process on page 43 when it says, the 10th step can be a pressure relief valve. We work this step while the day's ups and downs are still fresh in our mind. We list what we have done and try not to rationalize our actions. This may be done in writing at the end of the day. This daily process is another indication of change, that there is a spiritual change taking place, and that we are looking beyond ourselves and are trying to be respectful of others and even to honor God by doing the next right thing as well. And then the second principle of Step 10 is to take personal inventory. as in to consider where we failed God or others. This daily process of step 10 also includes taking time for thoughtful and careful reflection so that we can accurately assess our thoughts and words and actions where we might have harmed someone or failed God or failed others in some way. Just as with so many of the other steps of the 12 steps of recovery, step 10 also requires thoughtful and careful reflection in order to do step 10 properly. The third principle of step 10 is when we were wrong, as in to recognize our wrongs and accept them. This means that we see our own wrongs for what they are and acknowledge that we were wrong. Our wrong was not because of someone else and what they did. It was because we did the wrong thing or said the wrong thing or perhaps even just thought the wrong thing. In essence, this means we did not rationalize our wrongs away. We did not make excuses, but rather we recognized our wrong and accepted it, that we were responsible for it, not someone else or some other exceptional set of circumstances. We were wrong, and we accept it. And the fourth and final principle of step 10 is promptly admit our wrongs, as in to humbly confess our wrongs and our sins. This is an action that should be prompt, but also should be done humbly. It is important to admit our wrongs for sure, but we need to do it with a spirit of humility. Whether we are admitting our wrongs to someone we had wronged in some way, or even if we are confessing our sins to God, humility needs to be a part of this process, which is also an indication of growth in our recovery and also growth in our spiritual life as well. AA speaks to this spiritual aspect of step 10 when it says on page 85, we are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And then later it goes on and says, if we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God-conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense. This quote indicates the importance of a spiritual experience with God. Both books of AA and NA both clearly indicate the importance of the spiritual component of recovery and of life as well. Step 10 is important, but it requires a humble spirit, and it requires thoughtful and careful reflection of our personal inventory. And that really can only be successful if we allow God to direct our inspection of our personal inventory. The four principles then of step 10 are summarized as we continued, as in it is a daily process, not once and done. And then second, to take personal inventory, as in to consider where we failed God or others. And then third, when we were wrong, as in to recognize our wrongs and accept them. And then fourth, promptly admit our wrongs, as in to humbly confess our wrongs and our sins. Step 10, and this aspect of admitting our wrongs and to do it with a humble spirit, reminds me of Psalm 139, verses 23 and 24, where it says, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. To do step 10 properly, we need to have God as part of the process. We need to have God do the searching of our heart and mind to reveal any offensive way in us. And then this searching of our heart, or the searching of our personal inventory, led by God, will sort of bring us face to face, if you will, with this basic truth as it tells us in 1 John chapter 1, verses 8 and 9, where it says, "If we say we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness." As we let God do the searching of our personal inventory, we will see the wrongs in our life. We will see the sin in our life. But thankfully, these passages tell us to confess our sins, and that God is faithful and just and will forgive us of all of our sins. This passage from 1 John is really quite comforting. As we know, we are not perfect, and we will make mistakes. We will sin. But this passage tells us that God is faithful and just to forgive us our sins. And even more, he will cleanse us from all unrighteousness. What a comforting message. What a great assurance that God will forgive us. This is not only a comforting message as we do a personal inventory each and every day, but it is a comforting message to know that God will forgive us of all of our past sins as well. I encourage you to embrace this truth of the Bible for you today. Regardless of what you might have done in the past, God does indeed want to forgive you. Start today and bring all of your past sins and failings to God, and he will indeed forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. That is what I have for you today. Thank you very much for joining me today on the Hope Recovery Podcast. And remember, there is always hope with God. Take care, and God bless you all.